Let me give you some context. My parents are intense. They're not your typical suburban mom and dad. They're hardcore survivalists, the kind of people who think society is one power outage away from collapse. Growing up, I was taught how to start a fire with flint, purify water, and navigate by the stars before I could ride a bike. Family vacations, forget Disneyland. We'd spend weeks in the wilderness training for the apocalypse. I hated it, but I got good at it because I had no choice. Lately, though, things have been tense at home. I'm a senior in high school and I've been pushing back. I want to go to college, maybe study something useless like history or literature, but my parents think anything that doesn't involve skinning a deer or building a bunker is a waste of time. We've been fighting a lot and I guess they decided to teach me a lesson. But this was next level. Last Friday, they told me we were going on a family camping trip. I groaned, but packed my gear, standard stuff, tent, sleeping bag, water filter, knife, flint, some food. We drove for hours, way past the usual state parks, into this dense, unmarked forest in the Pacific Northwest. No cell service, no roads, just trees and silence. They dropped me off at a clearing, helped me set up my tent, and said they were going to scout the area. I didn't think much of it. They're always doing weird survivalist stuff. Then they didn't come back. I waited until sunset, figuring they were testing me or something. But as the sky turned purple and the forest got quiet, I started to worry. I checked the campsite and found a folded piece of paper tucked into my backpack. My mom's handwriting, short and sharp. Find your own way home. I read it over and over, thinking it was a joke. My parents are intense, but abandoning their kid? No way. I called out for them, my voice echoing through the trees. Nothing. I checked their truck and it was gone. My phone? No signal, and the battery was already at 20% because I hadn't charged it. Thinking this was just a weekend trip, panic set in, but I forced myself to stay calm. They trained me for this, right? I could handle it. I had to. The first night was rough. I set up my tent, built a fire, and rationed my food. 3 granola bars, a bag of dried fruit, and 2 packets of instant noodle. I had a water filter, so at least I could drink from the nearby stream. But as I sat by the fire, the reality hit me. I was alone, miles from civilization, with no idea where I was or how to get home. The note didn't even say why. Were they punishing me, testing me, or my stomach twisted at the thought had something happened to them? I woke up at dawn determined to figure this out. My parents always said survival is about mindset, so I tried to channel their drill sergeant energy. Step 1, assess my situation. I had basic supplies, decent skills, and a vague sense of direction. We'd driven roughly northwest from our house. Step 2, make a plan. I decided to stay put for one day in case they came back, then start moving if they didn't. I spent the day exploring the area, marking my campsite with rocks so I could find it again. The forest was thick with towering pines and moss-covered rock. I found the stream which flowed south and figured following it might lead to a road or a town. I also set up some basic snares using paracord from my backpack, hoping to catch a rabbit or squirrel. No luck, but it kept me busy. That night I couldn't sleep. Every snap of a twig made me jump, and the forest felt alive in a way that was both beautiful and terrifying. I kept thinking about the note. Find your own way home. It was so cold, so unlike my parents. They were tough, but they'd always been there when I needed them. Why would they do this? I started to wonder if this was some kind of twisted rite of passage, or maybe they were in trouble, maybe they'd been forced to leave me. My mind spun with possibilities, but I had no answers. By morning, I knew I couldn't stay. My parents weren't coming back, and my food wouldn't last. I packed up my tent, filled my water bottle, and started following the stream south. I figured water always leads somewhere, right? My plan was to walk during the day, camp at night, and conserve energy. I also kept my knife handy. Bears and cougars aren't exactly rare out here. The forest was relentless. Roots tripped me, branches scratched my face, and the stream kept veering into rocky terrain that was hard to navigate. I was exhausted by noon, but I pushed on, eating half a granola bar to keep my strength up. Around mid-afternoon, I found something that stopped me cold, a boot print in the mud too big to be mine or my parents'. It was fresh, maybe a day old. My heart raced. Was someone else out here, a hunter, a hiker, or something worse? I followed the stream for hours, but the boot print stuck in my mind. I started to feel like I was being watched, though I never saw anyone. That night, I camped in a small clearing, keeping my fire low to avoid attention. I barely slept, clutching my knife and listening to the forest. At one point, I swore I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling my camp. I called out, my voice shaky, but no one answered. Maybe it was an animal, but it didn't feel like it. On the third day, I was running on fumes. My food was almost gone, and I hadn't caught anything in my snares. My legs ached, and my shoes were soaked from crossing the stream. But then, just as I was starting to lose hope, I saw a cabin tucked between the trees. It was old, with peeling paint and a sagging roof, but it was something. I approached cautiously, knife in hand, and knocked on the door. No answer. The door was unlocked, so I went inside. The place was dusty but livable, with a wood stove, a table, and a few cans of beans in a cupboard. Jackpot. I also found a map yellowed and outdated, but it showed the forest and a logging road about 10 miles south. If I could reach that road, I might find help. I ate a can of beans, feeling guilty for stealing, but too hungry to care, and studied the map. For the first time, I felt like I had a real chance, but the cabin wasn't empty for long. As I was packing up, I heard a creak outside. I froze, peering through a cracked window. There was a man, tall, bearded, wearing a flannel jacket, standing about 20 yards away, staring at the cabin. He didn't move, just watched. My heart pounded. Was this his place? Was he dangerous? I grabbed my knife and hid under the table, barely breathing. He eventually left, but I didn't stick around to find out why he was there. I bolted out the back door, map in hand, and kept moving south. That night, I didn't make a fire. I was too scared he was following me. By the fourth day, I was a mess, hungry, exhausted, and paranoid. Every sound was the bearded man, every shadow a threat, but I kept following the stream, using the map to guide me. Around dusk, I finally saw the logging road just like the map promised. It was overgrown, but it was a road. I cried, actually cried, because it meant I wasn't going to die out here. I followed the road for hours, my legs screaming, until I saw headlights, a pickup truck rattling along the dirt path. I waved my arms like a maniac, and the driver, an older guy with a kind face, stopped. He was a park ranger doing a routine patrol. I must have looked like a ghost because he immediately got me into the truck, gave me water, and asked what the hell I was doing out here. I told him everything: the campsite, the note, the cabin, the bearded man. He listened, his face getting darker with every word. When I mentioned the note, he shook his head and said, "That's not parenting, that's abandonment." He radioed for backup and drove me to a ranger station where I got food, a blanket, and a chance to charge my phone. I tried calling my parents, but their phones were off. Big surprise. The rangers called the police, who tracked down my parents. Turns out they were back at home, acting like nothing happened. When the cops showed up, they claimed it was a survival exercise to make me a man. They said they'd planned to pick me up after a week, but they didn't tell me because fear is a great teacher. The police weren't buying it. Child endangerment is a serious charge, and last I heard, they're facing an investigation. I'm staying with my aunt now, trying to process this. The rangers found the cabin and confirmed it belongs to a recluse who lives off the grid, probably the bearded man. He's harmless, they say, but I'm still shaken. I keep replaying the note in my head. Find your own way home. I did, but not the way they expected. I'm done with their survivalist nonsense. I want a normal life, whatever that means. I guess I'm sharing this because I need to know I'm not crazy. Has anyone else dealt with parents like this? How do you move on from something so messed up? And if anyone knows about that forest or the cabin or the bearded guy, let me know. I'm still piecing it together. Thanks for reading. This was a lot to write, but it feels good to get it out.